Now, corn snakes, like this guy here, are one of the most popular pets in reptile keeping, and we're going to teach you how to take care of them. So as babies, you can house these guys in small exoterras or tubs if you have to, but as adults, you're going to want to get to a minimum of like a 40-gallon for an adult male, like this guy. This guy is a 7-year-old corn snake, and he's not going to stop moving during this video, but he is 7 years old, and a 40-gallon would be enough for him to stretch out in that. If you get a big female, you're going to want to get something like a 4x2x2, just so a 4-foot snake can stretch out in that space. We're going to start from the bottom of the enclosure upwards, so let's talk substrate. So corn snakes are from the eastern side of the US. Now, substrate-wise, you can go from anything from aspen bedding to dry shavings like that, or some more earthy textures. So things like eco-earth, or even like forest floor, or jungle bedding can be appropriate as well. So set up your tank with a few healthy inches of substrate for these guys to root around in and burrow in, and access the humid layer down beneath the surface. Now, although these guys are really active, as this guy is causing me trouble in this video, they also are quite cryptic and at times want to hide away. So you need to make sure that you put lots of hiding spaces in their enclosure. What I recommend is putting lots of log hides and things like that across the entire length of the enclosure. So no matter what temperature or what light zone they're in, they're going to have somewhere they can go to feel secure. If they can move along the entire back of the enclosure without being seen, then that's bang on for a corn snake. They actually found in studies, the more hides you put into your corn snake's enclosure, you're causing me trouble here, bud, the more hides you put into a corn snake's enclosure, the more you're actually going to see them out and roaming, because they don't feel they have to like use one hide as this safe retreat. They know wherever they go in the enclosure, there is somewhere they can duck down into at a moment's notice. So you actually get a bolder corn snake that you see more by giving them more hides. In terms of temperatures, these guys can be anywhere in the low 70s to 80. That's like 22 to like 26 air temperature. That's perfectly fine. Then what you're going to want to do is give them a warm spot, whether that's with a heat mat if you really have to, or what I prefer to do is give them a small low wattage heat lamp. Just that gentle amount of warmth that even though they would perfectly do fine at that ambient and digest and stuff at that ambient, you're giving them the choice to go and warm up and bask in the sun just like they would in nature. It doesn't have to be a crazy high wattage. It can be anywhere from like 50 to sort of like 75-ish. You don't need to absolutely blast these guys. It's just for a gentle warm patch over the ambient that these guys can go and warm up in if they want. Now these guys are like patient zero for snake UVB studies, so I would give them UVB because it's shown to be really beneficial to them. What are you doing, buddy? It's shown to massively increase the vitamin D in corn snakes, and that can only ever benefit them health-wise, especially if they get ill. If they ever get inoculated with something minor, their immune system is going to be in a much better position having as much vitamin D as they could ever want, versus having much lower amounts just from their food. That being said, that low amount from their food still keeps them alive and kicking. But I always opt for doing more than just keeping their heart ticking, if you know what I mean. Give them more, they'll do more, and you'll enjoy them more as a pet. Something really low watt, like a Reptile 5.0, 15 watts in their small terrarium hood that goes with it. You can find that link down below. At a really low wattage of like 1 UVI, that's absolutely fine. Just a really weak amount of UVB. You can't underprovide it because even if it is a really low amount, they're going to keep kicking anyway. So any small amount is going to be of great benefit to them. In terms of that basking spot, they can have anything from sort of 26 to 30 degrees Celsius surface temperatures. And that's like 80 Fahrenheit to 86. Whether that is with a small heat mat that you're going to do. If you're going to do that, I recommend the heat lamp. Exactly the same. Surface temperatures, lower radiance, just a nice little warm patch. And then what you're going to do is cluster that all to one side on your snake's terrarium, so they have a little patch of sunshine and then a little patch of shade, just like they would have in nature. So they can choose whether they want to sit in the sunshine and warm up and sunbathe and bask, or go sit in the shade. Thank you for demonstrating thermoregulation for me. The last thing with the lights is I would give them an LED spotlight. Now Sansy lights are really good at making that nice bright patch of sunshine. Everyone thinks that LEDs are just for plants when they're not. When these guys will sit in the sun, if the visible light from an LED is bright enough, not only does it go in through their eyes, but it actually penetrates through their skull and hits their brain. So by giving them that really nice bright basking spot, you're going to give them all the hormonal benefits that come with having that bright light. If you're going for let's really look after my corn snake really well, that's what you want to do. That's linked down below. We've actually got a thing going right now with a sponsored link to Sansi, where if you use Creator20 as a code, you get some discount. More details will be in the description. Get a small digital thermometer and put that in the shaded end, and that will tell you the temperature of the air in that enclosure. Now, many people think that there's a temperature of the air on one side versus the other. Thank you for demonstrating. Difference is you're under the lights, out of the lights, and that's exactly what happens to the thermometer. So you only need one, place it in the shaded end, and that's going to be the air temperature of the whole enclosure. You're going to want a surface temperature gun. In the same way everyone measured people's foreheads during COVID, buy one of those. They can be cheap on Amazon, links down in the description, and just measure the surfaces of this guy's tank. With cleaning these guys, it's really simple. Every single time they poop, just remove it and throw it in the bin, flush it down the toilet, whatever you do to remove it, and then once every sort of like month or two, if things get dirty in the substrate, take it all out, gut it out, throw it in the bin, disinfect the bottom of the tank, and then get fresh stuff and put it in. That's called a full clean. With feeding these guys as babies, you can feed them a pinky mouse sort of like every 5 days. Basically, you want the mouse to be 10% of the total body weight of your corn snake, or if you're eyeballing it, it's enough to cause them a slight bulge in the largest midsection. So if the mouse size was like this, just over the size of the body of this corn snake, it's about right. You don't have to be super anal about it. In the wild, they'll take on a massive vole or something and swallow something massive by comparison to the width of their midsection. So the 10% rule is about right. As they're growing and getting older, sort of like yearling on to becoming a subadult, you can shift that every 5 days to once every 7 days to 10 days. And as adults, what I would do is feed these guys an appropriately sized item, 10% of the total body weight, every sort of like 10 days. And if they're acting super hungry at certain times of the year, you can take that down to every 7 days. And if they start gaining weight, you can take that back up to 10. And if they're still gaining weight, you can take it to 14. And basically go on this pendulum system of fine-tuning your feeding strategy to the metabolism of your actual individual snake. Of course, people say every 14 days for an adult corn snake and going this basic rule. But if you're trying to fine-tune it to the metabolism of your actual snake, my pendulum that I've designed works pretty well. Of course, give these guys a water bowl and refresh that every day so they have fresh water to drink from. That's pretty straightforward with any pets. And the last thing that I would do is get Lucillin as a disinfectant and wound recovery spray. If they ever cut themselves on a rock or a branch, you can just spray their body with Lucillin. It's non-stinging and it works really well. I was set on fire once and it healed my head so quickly. But also you can use it to disinfect the enclosure, water bowls, and you spray it on and it works really well. It's 300 times more effective than bleach at actually killing germs, and it's totally amphibian and reptile safe. I have literally drank it in previous videos to prove a point, so it's the go-to for me. If you're doing a large scale disinfecting and you want to use more of it and be more cost effective, you can use things like Safe 4 or any Reptile branded disinfectant in the US you have, just to do big jobs like whole enclosures or tubs and things like that. But if you want to know that what you're cleaning is clean, Lucillin's a great job. All you want to do is have all your lighting on for 12 hours during the day and then 12 hours off at night. I wouldn't give them anything at night. They only really need supplemental nighttime heating if you're getting somewhere where your house is really cold, like 15 Celsius. But really, these guys don't need any supplemental heating at night unless it gets really cold. For most people, just having no heating at night is probably best for their metabolism. They actually want to get cold during nighttime, so they bask in the morning, and that is really good for their immune systems. So having that cold time and then heat during the day and then cold again, that's what they're designed for. Humidity wise, really they can be sort of around 50%, and then make sure that you give them a humid hide, which is like a hide stuffed with some moist moss, or if you give them deep natural soily type substrates, just make sure that they can get down to humid parts at the bottom of the substrate. So this guy, if he ever felt that he was really dry and he wanted to get down into a really humid part of the substrate, he would dig down. That's exactly what they would do out in nature. And that's a really oversimplified care guide for beginners, but I'm hoping some of you would take this and really run with it, and hopefully you see how you can set up a beautiful enclosure for a snake like this, and their care is relatively straightforward. If you like these types of videos, subscribe because more corn snake content is coming, and I'll see you in the next video. Say bye.